Let's talk about the Campbell House.
Sure. Cyrus Campbell was a prominent realtor during the land boom. He also was an investor, and he and two partners, Joseph Sartori and F.M. Myers, bought land from Bradbury, Louis Bradbury, and put on the market what they call the Pacific View Tract. It was east of the original Monrovia tract. But by the time they put it on the market, around August of 1887, Monrovia was exploding. So that had once, in May of 1886, would have been the open area around the town of Monrovia, had all been subdivided. Each of them had a house. Sartori's house was originally at the corner of Jasmine and Wild Rose. Campbell's at the corner of Heliotrope and Wild Rose. And Myers, I've not been able to definitely locate, but I believe they all three had houses on the Pacific View Tract. Sartori's was in its original location until it was moved to Heliotrope to make way for Wild Rose School, which was completed in 1912. Cyrus Campbell sold his house probably about 1892 to John Bartle, who lived there for a number of years, probably before moving to the A.G. Miller House on Foothill. By 1890 or thereabouts, the house had been purchased by William Ewell, who moved here with his wife, Lucinda, and their daughter, there was a daughter. I don't know that she lived in Monrovia, but their son, E.C. Ewell, Emmanuel Ewell, came with them. I believe they came from Dixon, Illinois. Anyway, Mr. Ewell Sr. was a retired minister who had also been in banking. So from, let's say, 1890 or thereabouts until probably 1986, the house remained in that family. Upon Lucinda Ewell's death, the house ownership passed to her husband or her son, E.C. Emmanuel, and then after his death, it passed to his wife Anna, and then his daughter Gretchen Ewell, who married Harry Booth. The Ewell family purchased other lots in the Pacific View Tract. At one point, they owned about 8 or 10 lots that were used for agricultural purposes. Some of them were planted citrus, some of them were raised strawberries on, but the Campbell House was under one family ownership for 95, 96 years. It was at one point divided into duplexes, and then later on, after it was passed out of family ownership, it was bought by Howard Jew, who removed the interior partitions so that it was once again a single family residence. Howard had the exterior painted using a firm that specialized in Victorian, so they picked the color scheme. Howard started the renovation on the interior. It has wonderful redwood on the interior that unfortunately was painted flat white at some point. So Howard began the process of stripping the paint and then kind of ran out of steam like somebody else I know, so it's partially stripped. And the interior plaster, of course, with earthquakes, some of the interior plaster needs to be replaced. Anyway, it would be a wonderful house for somebody who wanted to spend, about $200,000, $300,000 on it. It's a great house. It was piped for gas from the very beginning, one of a few Monrovia residences that was equipped to use gas for lighting, and was on a large corner double lot measuring 100 by 172 feet. What happened to Cyrus Campbell? I don't know. He left the local scene when the real estate boom crashed, and there's no further record of him locally. The Bartles, of course, they continued living in Monrovia, and the Booth family was here until Harry Booth, the father, passed away. There's still descendants living in San Marino, Doreen and Harry Jr. And in fact, I had lunch at Rotary one day with a young man who was a Booth. And I said, are you any related to the Booths of Monrovia? And he said, yes, I am. Why do you ask? And I said, because in 1901, your great-grandfather was the executor of my great-great-grandfather's estate. And he kind of gave me a blank stare, and I thought, well, I hope he appreciates the fact that sometimes there are tangencies that you can't quite grasp, but they happen.
Isn't there a picture of the Campbell real estate office in the Legacy collection?
There is. There's a picture of the exterior of the building, and then there's a picture of the interior with a very nice counter. I mean, it looks quite substantial, calculated to inspire confidence in the people you were dealing with.
Where was the real estate office?
Northwest corner of Myrtle and Colorado or Orange. Two-story brick building that was there until it was torn down in 1910 to make way for the American National Bank building. It's one of Monrovia's first houses, I should mention, identified as such, and appears in a book on Monrovia's first houses.